This is Jen Psaki, the now former White House press secretary. On May 10th, 2022, Psaki addressed the multiple demonstrations that were occurring outside of Supreme Court justices' homes in response to a leaked Supreme Court draft decision that could possibly overturn Roe v. Wade.
The president's long-standing view has been that violence, threats, and intimidation of any kind have no place in political discourse. And we believe, of course, in peaceful protest.
So Joe Biden's long-standing view is that he believes in peaceful protest, except when the protests are against Joe Biden.
When I was here in Philly earlier today, there are 80 Trump pickup trucks with flags riding around my block, beeping their horns for a couple hours.
And by the way, we don't do things like those chumps out there with a microphone are doing, the Trump guys. It's about decency.
Folks, that's not who we are. We are so much better than this. We're so much better than this. It's not who we are.
This isn't a political statement like those ugly folks over there beeping the horns.
We've never had anything like this. At least we've never had a president who thinks it's a good thing.
The very tolerant Joe Biden, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, what Jen Psaki is clearly ignoring is that while everyone but Joe Biden is for peaceful protests, doing them in front of Supreme Court justices' homes is a crime, specifically obstruction of justice. Allow me to explain. U.S. Code Title 18, Part 1, Chapter 73, Section 1507 contains the following. Whoever with the intent of interfering with, obstructing, or impeding the administration of justice, or with the intent of influencing any judge, juror, witness, or court officer in the discharge of his or her duty by picketing or parading in or near a building or residence occupied by one of the aforementioned, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year, or both. In other words, it is a federal crime to protest in front of the home of any judge, period. But for some reason, the Biden administration doesn't care when Democrats break the law. I know you're shocked.
He doesn't care if they're protesting outside the Supreme Court or outside someone's private residence.
I don't have an official U.S. government position on where people protest. We want it, of course, to be peaceful. And certainly the president would want people's privacy to be respected.
So for clarity, Jen Psaki is saying that the U.S. government doesn't have an official U.S. government position when it comes to enforcing United States federal law. Makes sense to me. What's your problem?
Look, I think the president's view is that there's a lot of passion, a lot of fear, a lot of sadness from many, many people across this country about what they saw in that leaked document.
In other words, the head of the federal government is going to allow people to break federal law because feelings.
But I think we shouldn't lose the point here. The reason people are protesting is because women across the country are worried about their fundamental rights that have been law for 50 years. Their rights to make choices about their own bodies and their own health care are at risk. That's why people are protesting. They're unhappy. They're scared.
Guys, it's fine. You can break the law if you don't like the law. Like this woman in her 60s protesting in front of Justice Brett Kavanaugh's home, holding a plastic hanger for some reason. Jen Psaki says that this woman is protesting because she's fighting for her right to make her own choices about her own body. And yeah, I think she probably missed that train a long time ago. Ironically, these women are so concerned about their health, yet they don't know how to wear masks properly. Then there's this woman also breaking the law, and not just for protesting, but because 18 U.S. Code 1507 also prohibits using a sound truck or similar device. And the bullhorn she's carrying arguably falls under that category. But it's fine. Joe Biden's Department of Justice could care less. It's not like she's protesting school board members in Virginia or something. So the Biden administration isn't going to admit that protesting in front of a Supreme Court justice's home is a federal crime. At least not until protesters start to target the court's liberal wing. But for now, the White House is going to play the whataboutism card.
What I do find is interesting, and I think many people have noted, is that there are voices on the right who have called out protests that are happening while remaining silent for years on protests that have happened outside of the homes of school board members, the Michigan Secretary of State, or including threats made to women seeking reproductive health care.
But there's a difference. All of the protests that Psaki mentioned do not and did not violate federal law. Unlike, trying to influence the outcome of a pending Supreme Court case. Here's Fox News reporter Alexandria Hoff pointing this out.
This is a pending court case, though. That's where the federal law comes into place. This is a pending court case.
Well, but I think that intimidation and protests and intimidation outside of the homes of school board members, the Michigan Secretary of State, intimidation and threats against people seeking legal reproductive health care and against our capital and American democracy also warrant some outrage, and we haven't really seen that.
So the question was about protesters breaking federal law, and Psaki's answer is Republicans are bad.
The silence is pretty deafening about all of the other intimidation that we've seen to a number of people.
On one hand, Jen Psaki is saying that intimidation outside the homes of school board members and state officials, etc., warrant some outrage. But on the other hand, she's straight up encouraging protests outside of Supreme Court justices' homes.
So I know that there's an outrage right now, I guess, about protests that have been peaceful to date, and we certainly continue to encourage that outside of judges' homes, and that's the president's position.
So the position of the president is not only that it's okay to break federal law, as long as it's peaceful, but that he also certainly continues to encourage it. Got it. And that brings us to May 18th. When citizen Jen Psaki was interviewed on stage at the University of Chicago's Institute of Politics. And when she participated in a Q&A with the audience, it didn't go great. Here's first-year student Daniel Schmidt.
A week ago, after the Roe v. Wade protests were happening in front of the Supreme Court justices' houses, you said, and I quote, "We certainly can continue to encourage that people protest outside of judges' homes."
I never said that.
And we certainly continue to encourage that outside of judges' homes, and that's the president's position.
Whoops!
It's a federal crime to protest outside of justices' homes to impact the results. So my question is, do you regret encouraging people to protest outside of justices' homes? Even if it is peaceful, it still is a federal crime.
Well, first, thank you for your question and bringing it forward. Let me first say, because I think facts matter and facts are important, I never encouraged anyone to protest.
Look, I think our view here is that peaceful protest, there's a long history in the United States and the country of that. And we certainly encourage people to keep it peaceful.
I encourage them to engage peacefully.
So Psaki is saying that she never encouraged anyone to protest, but at the same time, she encouraged them to engage peacefully. Wait, what?
And I'm not going to tell people, I don't think it's the role of the government to tell people where they can or cannot peacefully protest.
No, it is the role of the federal government to say where you can and can't protest. But instead of enforcing the law, Joe Biden and the Department of Justice are encouraging protesters simply because they agree with their political ideology.
If they're breaking the law, of course they shouldn't do that. And I also said that too.
And since facts matter and facts are important, I need to point out that Jen Psaki never said that. She never denounced these protests, let alone ever admitted that those protesters were in fact breaking the law. But it's okay because they're passionate about being able to unpregnant themselves.
It is also true that peacefully protesting in places where it is legal, and it is legal in many places in the country, including outside of some places in the country for sure, is something that is allowed.
Peacefully protesting in places where it's legal is legal? Yeah, no shit, Jen. Anyway, that's it for now. Be sure to hit that like button and check out these videos that you probably missed. And be sure that you're still subscribed to the channel. As always, I hope to see you next time. If there is next time.